All right, hi everybody. Start it with stretch and reset in just a minute. Tonight for stretch and reset, you're gonna need a foam roller and a yoga strap. If you don't have a traditional yoga strap, a necktie or the wrap that goes around a bathrobe is a really nice alternative. Any long piece of fabric that you don't mind tugging on a little bit. So if it's your favorite t-shirt, I'd put it back and grab something else, just so that you're not sad when it's all stretched out at the end. So a foam roller and a yoga strap, and we'll get started in just a minute. This is stretch and reset. It's an hour-long stretching class. Today it's kind of like the lazy kids stretch and reset. We're gonna be on the ground for most of it. And you're gonna need a foam roller and a yoga strap or some long piece of fabric. So let's go ahead and get started. Make sure that you guys can see the ground. We're gonna get started with the foam roller long ways. So that foam roller is vertical. You're gonna sit your butt right at the front edge of it and then lie down all the way onto your back. And it might feel a little wobbly or off center at first, but eventually you'll get kind of comfortable on it and the body will, adjust and sort of settle. And then I want you to take your arms out into a big, wide field goal shape. And you're just gonna take a couple deep breaths like this. This is my favorite way to start class. It's one of my favorite chest stretches of all time. Elbows really wide, up in line with the shoulders. And your hands may or may not be on the ground. No matter where they are, I just want you to let the arms relax. So you're not trying to hold anything up or keep anything in place. You're just making the breath really big. These next few breaths, just one of your arms, just one of your hands is gonna turn down toward the floor. So I'm gonna start with my left arm, palm toward the ground. My right hand didn't move. So we've got internal rotation on the left side, external rotation on the right side. And then change your hands. Bring the right palm down to the ground, the left palm up toward the ceiling. You'll keep alternating just like that. One arm at a time tips down, the other lifts up. And you'll get all sorts of different variations of this. Some people's arms might not go anywhere close to the ground. And that doesn't mean that you can't still get a really good stretch. Don't get frustrated, don't stop trying. Just keep taking that rotation as deep as your shoulders will let you. Make sure the breath is as big as it can get. The deepest inhale and the deepest exhale every single time. You'll take your last one in each direction. And then end with both palms facing the ceiling, right where we started. Just notice if you can feel a difference from start to finish, even after just those few short breaths. Start to reach your arms back over your head. They're gonna stay on the ground, just like a big good morning stretch. Fingertips reach to the back edge of the roller. Shrug the shoulders up towards your ears. Take a really big breath in. And relax your arms down by your sides on your breath out. You're gonna rock over to the right or to the left, doesn't matter which one. And take your roller short ways, so horizontal instead of vertical. You'll sit on top of the roller, bring your hands behind your back, cross one ankle over top of the other knee, and then lean toward the leg that's on top. So my left knee is on top right now. I'm gonna lean over toward my left and start to roll the outside of that left glute. We'll be here for about a minute. And I want you to take a lot of different turns, a lot of different twists with the hips. So you'll lean all the way over toward the left. And then you'll try rocking back toward the center a little bit. Maybe stay higher up by the top of the hip or closer toward the glutes. Closer toward the sit bones. Just exploring all the different areas on that glute, on that left glute. And then stay in the spot that gives you the biggest response. So the biggest bit of feedback, the most attention grabbing spot is where I want you to stick around for a few extra breaths. Can you move a little slower? Really try to press the body weight down into the roller. See if you can get a little bit more pressure down rather than a quick roll forward and backwards. So if you could, you would stop all the movement and just make your hips heavier on that roller. We'll take just about 10 more seconds here, exploring any last little spots that might need it. And then we're gonna keep moving toward the leg that's on top. So my left leg is on top. I'm gonna keep rolling my left leg. If it's your right leg, don't feel like you need to switch. Keep rolling your right leg. You're gonna stretch that top leg out, the one that you're rolling, and then cross the other foot on top. So my right foot is coming over my left leg. I'm gonna take that roller and slide it a little further down my quad muscle on the left side, and then start to roll along the outer edge of that quad. So I was rolling my left glute a moment ago, and now I'm gonna roll my left quad. I'm not a big fan of rolling right on the IT band, so I'm trying to stay away from the side of my leg, and I'm really trying to hit the outer edge of that front leg muscle. Again, moving slow, worrying more about pressing weight down than I am about moving fast. Just exploring that whole muscle, all the way from the knee up to the top of the hip. You could bring it down to your forearms if your shoulders are getting tired. You can push a little bit more weight into that supporting foot if that bottom leg is feeling a little too sensitive. Wherever you are, try to soften the jaw, make your breath a little bigger. Take another 20 seconds or so, moving that roller if you need to, so that it's on the exact spot that you want to roll. And just a few more big breaths, all the way in through the nose, all the way out. And then slowly roll yourself back around, bringing your seat down to the ground behind the foam roller. You're gonna stick with that same leg. So if you've been rolling the left leg this whole time, keep rolling the left leg. Same thing with the right. It doesn't matter which side you're on. And you're gonna cross the other leg on top. So I'm still rolling my left leg. My right ankle crosses on top. Hands plant behind you. Lift your seat up, your butt up, and then roll just the back of that hamstring, that one leg. If that's too intense or your arms are working a little too hard for you to focus on the legs, then you can even them out and roll both at the same time. But if you're able to cross the ankles, I want you to really focus on that one side. Softening your foot, trying not to flex the feet or squeeze any leg muscles. Just keep them relaxed. Good. One more moment on this first hamstring. So we're still just on that one side. And then bring your butt down to the ground. Bend your knees, sit back on top of the roller, cross your other leg on top. So now my right ankle's crossing over my left knee, and I'm gonna lean to the right. Just like we did on the first side, we have about a minute exploring all the spots on this right glute that you can. Going really close up toward the top of the hip bone, and then really low down toward the sit bone. Trying to roll a little extra weight to the right side, and then maybe coming back to center. And just taking a pause or a moment in this spot that gives you the biggest reaction. A few more moments on this second side. Maybe going back to a spot that felt a little tender at first, but now feels loosened up or ready for some pressure. Take a few deep breaths in through the nose. Deep breaths out through the mouth. Good. And then bring your hips or your legs to a stop. That top leg is gonna stretch out. You're gonna keep rolling that same leg. I'm gonna turn and face you just so that you can see that set up again. Same exact leg is rolling. So my right leg is the one that I'm focusing on. I'm gonna take my left leg and cross it over top, and then slide that foam roller down toward the outside edge of the right quad. I like to stay propped up on my hands. You could take it to your forearms if you want. And then you're just gonna slide forward and backwards on the outside of that second leg, the outside of that quad muscle. So we're on the opposite side from last time. I'm rolling my right leg and my right toes are tucked. I'm using those to steer forward and backwards. It's taking a little bit of the pressure too so that it's not all of my body weight down on that right leg. Again, I tend to stay away from my IT bands. It doesn't feel good when I roll them, so I like to focus or address the muscles that surround it. If you know rolling your IT bands doesn't hurt you, and you know I'm just a guide. You take your own measures here to make sure that you feel good by the end of this. But right now I'm cueing more toward the quad muscle than right along the side of the leg. Making sure that we get down by the knee and up by the hip, covering the whole length of that leg muscle. Just a few more deep breaths, softening the jaw, relaxing the shoulders if you can. Slowly turning yourself back around. You'll bring your butt down to the ground behind the roller. I'm still rolling my right side, so I'm gonna cross my left ankle over top, lift myself up, and then roll forward and backwards over that right hamstring. And I'm trying my best to keep the left leg out of the picture just so that that right side gets all of the attention. But if for some reason that doesn't feel good or it feels like more work than rolling, then you can stretch the legs out and roll both at the same time. Whatever leg you're rolling, soften it. Let the foot be lazy, relax your quad muscle, and just let all of that pressure go down into that muscle that's pressing against the roller. Take your last 2 big breaths. And then bring your butt down onto the ground. And you're gonna slide the roller forward so that it's underneath your calf muscles. So the lower part of your leg, below your knee. I'm gonna turn and face you on this one. You don't need to move. I just want you to see what my legs are doing. So I'm gonna keep my feet as lazy as possible, right? This would be flexing really strong up toward the ceiling. I want them to just hang out over that roller like there's nothing to do. And then you're gonna rock and roll your legs from side to side, starting from your hips. Now, a lot of times when people start to rock and roll their legs, they flex their feet and they just move their toes. Go ahead and relax the feet again. Move all the way from the top of the leg and just let them rock from side to side. And then after a few rocks, I want you to slide the roller closer towards your knees, just an inch or so, and do that same exact thing. Just Really lazy all the way from the top of the legs, just letting them flop from side to side. Good. And then one more time, we're gonna slide the roller a little closer toward our ankles. Still on the calf muscle, just underneath that first spot that you started on. And one last time, rock the legs from right to left. And you might notice a difference from side to side. My left calf has this like bumping feeling in it, this thing, this big knot that I notice. And so I always try to give it a little bit more pressure as I'm rocking from right to left. If you slid the roller and it doesn't feel as good as it did in the first spot, then just put the roller back where it was. So we're just exploring, taking lots of time to move around and notice where we get the biggest reaction, the best massage feeling for our muscles. Good. Now you're gonna keep the legs still, and I do want you to move the feet. We're gonna draw big circles. I like to go in opposite directions of each other. Big circles with the ankles. Just trying to get the ankle to move in its biggest range of motion. I had a teacher one time tell me to think of scooping caramel out of a bowl. You're trying to use your foot to scoop up that sticky stuff, making sure you get as much of it up as you can. And then reverse the direction of your circles. Whatever that means for you. It's okay if you're going in a different direction than me. Just getting a big movement through the feet. Noticing if one circle's smoother than the other or bigger than the other. And then relax the feet one more time. You don't have to move, I'm just gonna show you this from the side. You're gonna lift yourself up just like we did with our hamstrings, and you're gonna roll your calves now. So you're pressing into your hands, lifting your hips up, and you're gonna scoot forward and backwards just a few inches. Try a couple with your toes turned in toward one another. And then try a couple with your toes turned away from one another. And then try some with both toes turned to the right. Both sets of toes. And then some with both toes turned to the left. Slowly bring your hips back down, shake your legs out. You're gonna take the roller off to the side for just a moment, and we're gonna come to grab our yoga strap. And you're gonna stretch one leg out long and bend the other knee in. So you're kind of making a flag or a figure 4 with your legs. The bottom of this is my right foot, it probably looks like my left, is to the inside of my left thigh. Take your strap around the bottom of your foot that's stretched out, and then walk your hands down the strap over toward your leg. And we're gonna separate the body into pieces today, so we're focusing big time on the back of our hamstrings and our glutes and our calves right now. We'll move on to our upper body, and then we'll finish with our quads and our hip flexors. So just softening with each breath out, trying to melt a little closer toward that left thigh. And that yoga strap is there. If you're feeling like your leg is really far, instead of hunching forward, use the strap to pull your chest toward your foot. That's if you need it. If it's not helping you or not assisting you any, you don't have to hold on to it. Take about 3 more breaths, just folding over this straight leg. then lift your chest and chin all the way back up. You're gonna take your yoga strap behind your left hip. So again, it probably looks like my right, but it's my left hip. My right hand is gonna come behind my back, and I'm gonna take a little twist over toward the right. If your yoga strap isn't long enough, just place your hand behind your back and then take a turn over to the right without holding on to anything. And if you have that yoga strap, we're using it to try to open up a stretch in the front of the right shoulder and maybe get a little bit of a stretch through the left hip. Take 2 more big breaths in and out. And then slowly come back toward the straight leg. Slide the yoga strap up to the ball of your foot, and then pull the strap backwards to stretch out your calf muscle. So you're gonna flex your toes back toward your face and just give a little tug on the bottom of the strap. Take 2 more deep breaths. We're gonna switch sides, and you're gonna straighten out your opposite leg. So my right leg is straightening, my left leg is bending, and I'm gonna take that yoga strap down around the bottom of my right foot. Using the strap, especially if you can't reach for your foot, don't worry about folding the chest down toward your thigh. Think of reaching out. The torso is gonna lift up really tall on an inhale, and then you're gonna lean forward instead of down on your exhale. Every exhale, trying to reach further out over that leg. So even if you're all the way up here, there's no reason to go down. There's no reason to think about the thigh or the knee. Think about stretching out past the edge of the foot. Taking 3 more deep breaths. One more time, big breath in through the nose. Fold a little deeper on the exhale. Lift your chest and chin all the way back up. Take your yoga strap behind your right hip. Left hand sweeps behind your back. Now this is just to give the leg a little bit of a break before we go back for that calf stretch. So you're focusing on the shoulder that's reaching behind your back and then turning or twisting toward that side. I'll worry less about what this straight leg is doing and more about what this shoulder is doing as it reaches back behind you. And 2 more deep breaths. And then slowly come back toward the right foot. Grab either edge of your strap and just give it a little pull toward you to stretch out the back of the calf. And we're gonna get the calves again in a much deeper way. This is the first little stretch, first little go for the calf muscles. Pull on the strap just a little tighter, lift your chest up a little higher. And then release the strap from around your right foot. You're gonna stretch both legs out long and lie on your back. Make sure that foam roller is close by where you can grab it in a moment. We're just gonna finish up our hamstring stretches on our back. You're gonna take the yoga strap around the bottom of your left foot. So the left leg was long first, and we're going around the bottom of that leg again. If this feels really tough, keep the right knee bent. If you're able to, stretch the right leg all the way out. And then flex your left toes back towards your shin. Hold the toes as close to your forehead as you can. Walk your hands all the way up by your foot. And then soften your elbows to create that hamstring stretch on the left side. Now, if you're trying to pull your leg in and your head is lifted, or you're noticing your tailbone start to lift up, go ahead and bend that right knee. I want it to be as relaxed and stable from your head to your hips as possible. Take both straps into your right hand and pull your thigh just past midline. So that left foot is crossing over toward the right hip just a little. You'll start to feel that stretch in the outside of your left hip, left leg. Take your left hand into your left hip crease and then press your hip away from your ribs. Flex your toes again. See what that does for the stretch on the outside of the left leg. Gently lift your left leg all the way back up to center. Step your right foot into the yoga strap, slide your left foot out. I think I said it a little backwards on the other side. Your knee bent is going to be more stable. So the leg stretching out is only if you need to feel more in the right hamstring. If you're starting to rock all around or the butt is starting to lift up off the ground, keep the left knee bent. But if you're feeling like your low back and your hips are steady on the ground, then you can stretch that left leg out. You're gonna flex your right toes back toward your face, grab high up by your foot, and then just soften the elbows to create that stretch. Noticing with each exhale that it's a little easier to pull the thigh in toward your chest, or maybe it's a little easier to flex the toes back toward your shin. Try to notice what changes, what shifts as you hold this position. And then take both straps into your left hand and cross the right leg over just a little, just past midline. Take your right hand into your right hip, press the right hip down, and then pull your toes back toward your shin. A few more deep breaths. Constantly trying to readjust. Lengthen the leg, flex the toes, push the hip down. Take one more big breath in and out. And then bring your right leg back to center. Take your foot out of the strap. One time you're gonna roll all the way up off the ground and then reach over toward both feet. So take a moment, feel your sit bones press into the ground, let your spine get long. Just like we talked about with that single leg forward fold, instead of rounding down, take your shoulders, your gaze, and reach it out over the toes. So we're worrying more about going out over the feet than we are about looking down at the thighs or the kneecaps. See if you can flex your feet up toward the ceiling. Both toes pull back toward your shins for these last 3 breaths. Leading with your heart and your top of your head, lift all the way back up. Nice and tall, shoulders stack over the hips. Cross your legs in front of you and grab your yoga strap again. I'll turn my music down just a touch. You're gonna take your yoga strap and stretch it all the way out. Mine's really long, so I'm gonna wrap my hands around it a couple times, or wrap the strap around my hands a couple times. And then just finding any comfortable seat. Tall in the upper body. If that means that you need to rise up to your shins or sit on a yoga block or a chair, you can do that as well. You're gonna take that strap nice and tight between the hands. Keep your elbows straight. Reach the strap all the way up and back. Now, I don't want you to think about putting a shirt on, right? So we're not gonna bend the elbows and pull the arms down. I want you to keep pushing the strap behind you. And then if your chest is sticking out and your back is arching, pull the ribs back together. Stack your ribs over top of your hips. And you're just gonna keep moving the strap forward and backwards. And as I bring the strap forward, I like to tuck my chin into my chest and around my upper back. Almost think about pulling the strap apart. And then lift the chest back up, reach the strap behind you. This is true about all of the positions that we do. Every stretch is gonna look different, right? So mine might go all the way back here and yours might get stuck over your head. And if that's where you feel a stretch, you stop. And just because I'm stopping here, I know some people are gonna be able to bring their arms all the way down here. And if that's where you need to go to feel a good stretch, then take that whole movement. Just move slow enough to listen to your body. Just because you can get your arms all the way back there doesn't mean that you have to. And sometimes it might even just be a little too much. Like it might take the breath away. It might put our spine or the rest of our body in a weird position. So you're gonna move slow enough to notice when that stretch kicks in without having to shift or compromise anywhere else. We'll take one more forward. And then you're gonna end with the yoga strap over your head or your towel or whatever it is that you have up overhead. Pull the right side down. It's gonna look at my left. Pull one side down, lift the other arm up. And then gaze up into that lifted hand. Now, if your butt is starting to tip off the ground, go ahead and anchor that sit bone back down, that hip bone back down into the floor. What does that do for the stretch? Yourself all the way back up to the center, switch sides. Pull the opposite hand down, gaze up into the lifted palm. Notice if the arm that's lifting is starting to pick that hip bone up off the ground and sink it back down into the floor instead. Gently lift both arms all the way back up. One more time, take your hands back behind you. Take a full inhale, stretch the strap as far as it'll go. And a full exhale. Sweep the arms all the way back around. Unhook the strap and just place it to the side for a moment. You're gonna take an ear to a shoulder. I'm gonna start with my left ear to my left shoulder. And I want you to take your right palm and press it toward the ground. It might not touch, it might touch, either way is fine. If you get there and you feel like you could take a little bit more, go ahead and crawl those fingertips, those right fingertips all the way out along the floor until you get a stretch to the side of your neck on the right side. Can you slide the shoulder blades down your back a little bit more? keep reaching the right hand over to the right side, take your gaze down over your left knee. Just enough to feel the stretch shift or slide to the back of your neck on the right side. And then relax that right arm. Drop your chin all the way down to your chest. And then lift your head back up. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Right ear, right shoulder. Left hand to the ground. It can flex in the air. It can push into the floor. I like to take it one step further and then crawl those fingertips over toward the left so this arm is as long as it can be. Notice the position of the rest of your body though. If we're hunched forward, this stretch isn't going to feel quite the same or isn't going to have the same effect as if the rest of the body is in its best alignment. So shoulders over ribs, ribs over hips. Slide the shoulder blades down the back. And then take your gaze out past your right knee. And you're only going to go as much. You're only going to turn the head as much as you need to feel that stretch to the back of your neck on the left side. See if you can close your eyes. And notice how that breath, just one inhale and exhale at a time, changes what's going on in the stretch. And then relax your left arm first, and then drop your chin to your chest. Lift your chest and chin all the way back up. And we're gonna reach for our foam roller. So we're coming back to the roller horizontal, just like how we rolled our hamstrings and our calves. So it's short ways. And you're gonna start with that roller at the base of your shoulder blades. So right at the pointy part, right? Your shoulder blade is kind of shaped like this at the bottom. And I want you to think about sitting the foam roller right at the bottom of that shoulder blade. Once you have that set up at the middle of the back, the bottom of the shoulder blade, hands come behind your head. Let your head rest in your hands so that your neck isn't doing any extra work. Scoop your hips up off the ground and start to slide forward and backwards, just along the top part of the back. So head is heavy in the hands. You could tuck your chin into your chest for a couple. You can pull the elbows wide for a couple. You're just trying to feel a good massage in the muscles of the upper back. I like to lean a little bit of weight over to the right side and focus on those upper back muscles on the right for a second. That side's always a little more tender for me. Ooh, hard to talk and do that. And then same thing on the left. Lean a little bit of weight over to the left and focus a little more attention over there. And then we're gonna bring the hips back down to the ground, ending with the roller just underneath the shoulder blades. And then you're gonna take a pause, stop that side to side movement, and just lay your chest back over that roller. Again, you can bring your hands behind your head. I like mine there the best, but I know some people like to keep theirs wrapped around themselves. And so your hips are still on the ground and you're laying down over that foam roller, getting a big stretch through your chest. One more breath in and out. Tuck your chin into your chest, slowly lift yourself all the way up. And then take that foam roller back off to the side. And you're gonna do this next part just lying down on your stomach. So legs are out long. You're gonna keep your right hand pressing into the ground. Your left arm is in a field goal shape. So since you can't see mine, I'm just gonna show you what it looks like from the other side. Your left arm is in a field goal. Your right hand is propped up. So right hand's pressing on the ground. You're gonna push onto the right hand. Gaze is looking at that right hand, and press yourself onto the left side of your body. So I'm gonna take this leg and drop it behind me. Yours can stay bent like this if that feels better. Pushing off of that right hand, just starting to feel a stretch through your chest on the left side. Keeping that field goal shape in the left arm. And rocking or rolling back as much as you need to feel a good stretch through your chest on that left side. And that's gonna look very different for everybody. Yours might not go so far, yours might go a little further. Just close your eyes, keep moving around until you feel a good response. And then breathe into the left side of your chest. Take 2 more breaths. Slowly bring yourself back to center. Both hips come to the ground. You're gonna trade arms. So now your right arm's in a field goal. Your left hand is on the ground, and you'll take your gaze toward your left hand. Push onto your left hand, roll or rock onto the right side of the body, just until you feel a stretch in your chest that you know you can hold and you know you can breathe through. Not going so far that you can't take a deep breath. And take 2 more giant breaths in and out. And then slowly bring yourself all the way back to center. Press into your hands, rock back into a tabletop position, and then reach for your foam roller one last time. And you're gonna bring that roller underneath you in tabletop. Bring your quads down onto the foam roller, forearms onto the ground. And you're just gonna scoot forward and backwards, rolling out the front of the quads. Now we already hit the outer edges of the quads, but we've got both legs on the roller at the same time, so it should feel a little different than that first single leg variation that we took. I want you to do a couple with both toes turned out, so both toes turned away from one another. And you'll feel that, lots of pressure on the inner thighs. This is a tough one to talk through. And then do a couple with both toes turned in toward one another. Try a couple with both toes turned to the right. Trying to cover the whole length of the quad. And then a couple with both toes turned to the left. And then I want you to lengthen both legs out. And you're gonna scoot the roller a little closer toward the top of your quad, closer towards your hip flexor. I'm gonna keep my legs long, like stretched behind me, but I am gonna have a little bend in them. I want you to lean more weight onto one hip. So I'm gonna lean a little extra weight onto my left hip, and then just focus on rolling up by that left hip flexor. Very top of the quad, where the top of the thigh starts to meet the rest of the body. Just moving around that area, just noticing what feels good, trying not to roll over any bones or any spots that take your breath away. and then switch and rock your hips over toward the other side. So I've got all my body weight on this one leg. That's on my right leg. My left leg isn't even touching the roller. And then bring yourself back to the center, both forearms to the ground. Roller right in the middle of the quads. Bend your knees so that your feet are in the air, and just windshield wiper your feet from side to side. And then find a different spot on your quads. Keep that roll or that rock and roll going with the feet, that windshield wiper. Soften your feet just like we did when we were rolling our calf muscles. Really lazy in the lower legs. And then one more spot, either higher or lower depending on where you started. Keep windshield wipering the feet from side to side. And then reach your legs back out long, bring your knees to the ground. You can set your foam roller off to the side for a second. You're gonna rise up to your knees, bring your left foot in front of you for a low lunge. Hands framing the left foot. If this feels kind of far away from you, you could grab something to stack your hands onto, like a couple of books or water bottles. And then as you sink the hips toward the ground, keep the left knee over top of your left ankle. And so we're focusing on this back hip flexor, and it doesn't really matter how impressive this front knee looks. So I don't need it to be tucked in toward you. It's okay if the hips don't even feel like they're reaching that low, as long as you're getting a nice stretch through the right hip flexor. As you breathe, try to fill up the right side of the lower belly more than any other spot. So more than the lungs, more than the chest. And then really pull your left knee away from your right knee on the exhale. This might seem a little tricky. You're gonna heel toe your left foot over towards your right hand. And if that does not work for you, if that's feeling too complicated, just hang on for 1 second. If you're feeling good to go, you're gonna keep rolling or rocking that left foot over until you end up in a half pigeon stretch. So the left knee is bent in front of you, the right leg is stretched out long. If that didn't feel like a smooth transition, you're gonna take that left foot, scoot it back just a little, lift your right leg up, and then just slide that left foot over. So you're gonna give yourself a little bit of space to bring the left leg into half pigeon. And then get the weight even in both hips. Lift your chest, take a big breath in. Reach your chest forward instead of down on your breath out. Readjust the hips one more time, trying to square them off. Reach the right leg back a little further if you can. One more big breath in and out. Walk yourself back up to your hands. Slide your knees back together into tabletop, however you need to get there. And you'll take your right foot forward between your hands and set up low lunge on the second side. Again, get the right foot far enough in front of you that your knee stays over your ankle, and then just let the hips sink toward the floor. Pulling your right knee away from your left knee. And then filling up the space down in your left lower abs to create a deeper stretch. Really filling up that left side of the belly on the breath in. And then relaxing that left leg on the breath out. Just a few more deep breaths here. And if this is feeling like something that you need to spend a little more time in, don't let me rush you out of it. You're gonna start to heel toe your right foot over towards your left hand to set up half pigeon. Or if that's feeling too tight, tuck the left toes, lift your knee, and then slide the shin over with a little extra space. Once you get that set up, square your hips off, lift your chest, and then fold forward, out and over your leg. Two more really big breaths. The longest breath in that you can take. And the longest breath out. And lift your chest and chin all the way back up. Sit onto your right hip. Carry both legs around in front of you. You'll take one more fold over both legs. Bottoms of the feet touch for a butterfly stretch. Lift your chest, create some space, and then bow forward. Leading with your chest and the top of your head, lift all the way back up. Bring your knees together. Slide your foam roller under your bent knees and then lay down on your back. And this will be the very last thing that we do. You're gonna lift your hips up once you get there. Slide the roller underneath your tailbone, right underneath your sacrum. And then just let the hips rest down on the roller. And that's all there is to it, just a supported bridge. You could use a yoga block or a really stiff couch cushion if the roller's a little too wobbly or upsided. But once you get there, once the hips are heavy, just let the arms drop by your side. Take a little nod with your head from right to left. Relax your jaw, soften the space between your eyebrows. Keep letting the weight sink down into the roller or into your block. Softening the front of the hips, softening the low back. one more big breath in through the nose, filling all the way up. Open your mouth, sigh it out. Lift your hips up just enough to slide the roller or the block out from underneath you. Bring your hips right down to the ground. Take a moment here before you get up, before you move on, to notice the extra softness, the space, whatever you want to call it, in your low back. Across the front of your chest. Your quads and your hamstrings and your calves. As you start to move, as you start to wake the body back up and begin to lift up to a seated position, try to keep as many of those spaces as you can. So rise up, find a seated position, maintaining some of that ease in the front of the hips, maintaining that space across the chest, that length in the spine. Take just one moment here, one more moment to appreciate this time that you've given to yourself. And take one final inhale together. Sweep both arms all the way up overhead. A full stretch on the way up. Open your mouth, empty out. You guys are all finished. Thank you so much for joining me for Stretch and Reset. If you have any questions or comments, or you need help figuring out how to do some of those movements with the equipment that you have at home, please do not hesitate to type in a question. I will definitely get back to you. But otherwise, have a great Sunday night, you guys.